No parking without a permit? Got it. I live in a suburban street that is narrow and has limited parking, so parking is restricted to residents. Each household gets one parking permit that you need to display in your car if you want to park on a street. My boyfriend doesn't live with me and doesn't have a parking permit, so he parks in a nearby parking lot. It's not a big deal since it's just 1 or 2 minutes away by foot. A couple of weeks ago, my boyfriend is staying over for the weekend and we go grocery shopping. On our return, he decides to stop in front of my house so we wouldn't have to carry our bags from the parking lot. The car was parked there for 5 minutes max while unloading the groceries, and there were plenty of empty spots at the time of day. As my boyfriend is getting back in the car, my old next-door neighbor walks up to him and tells him in a very accusatory tone that non-residents can't park there. We tried to explain that we were only dropping off our groceries and will be moving the car now, but old neighbor is being very rude to us and accusing of blocking the traffic and stealing spots from the residents and other nonsense. He ends up threatening to call the cops if we dare park in the street again without a permit. This neighbor has a reputation for being a royal pain, and it's not the first time he's complained to me about trivial things. Here's where the malicious compliance comes in. I don't have a car, therefore I have a parking permit that's been sitting unused ever since I moved in. I asked a friend whose husband is a cop and found out any car can use my parking permit. It doesn't have to be registered underneath my name. Basically, if you have a house on the street, you are allowed to park one car on the street. So I did what any petty human would do, and I gave my permit to my boyfriend. He now parks in front of my house anytime he comes over. And old man neighbor is livid about it, but can't do anything because the car has a permit. You know, there's this old saying, keep your nose out of other people's business and worry about yourself. However, neighbors like this do have their benefit. They'll watch out for you, regardless if they're grumpy or anything like that. If something ever happens to your house, these are the type of neighbors you want. Mainly due to the fact if they see anything that's unusual, the police will probably be in front of your house. I had a downstairs neighbor, he moved out suddenly one day and the police were called because they thought he was getting robbed. So at the end of the day, this isn't a really negative outcome, just more like a minorly ticked off neighbor, but they'll get over it. They'll get over it. There's always one. Won't leave my drive-thru until you're served? Okay. This one's from over a decade ago, but I still giggle about it from time to time. I was 18, and for some reason, the higher-ups thought it'd be a good idea to give me assistant manager at this Burger King I worked at. It's just me and another guy closing at the store. It closes at 12 a.m., and it's now about 12:20 or so. The dreaded drive-thru signal beeps. I'm sorry, we're closed.
What? It's only 12:20.
In a snooty, condescending tone. Correct. We close at 12.
Well, I just drove all the way from...
Faraway suburb.
Do you not have anything left?
No, ma'am. Everything is tossed in the garbage at midnight.
Well, I'm not leaving until you get me food.
I tried to reason with her for a bit longer, but she insisted she was served and continued to get increasingly irate. Now, the store I worked at had a rather large speaker in the back, so the cook could hear our entire conversation. He was not pleased. I asked if he has anything left to serve this woman, and he says, 1 sec. I watch as he digs through the trash. Oh no, please. No, they were not going here. Are we going here? Covered in the old fryer grease and whatever else have you, and he pulls out a crispy chicken patty and an old soggy bun. Got one! I have a crispy chicken sandwich.
Fine, I'll take that.
She paid and got her food and left. I never saw that woman again. So there's a fine line with messing with people's food that shouldn't be crossed. There's the one thing where a guy's asking for extra, and the extra is never enough, and you end up giving him this little teeny tiny patty with a mountain of lettuce on top of it. But then there is the extra where you pull food from the trash and serve it. And unfortunately, though it may have seemed funny at the time, a person could have gotten really sick on this. And I really hope that that wasn't the situation. And this author should be lucky it never came back to him. But this is something you shouldn't do. I'm just saying, if you work at a fast food place, no matter how angry you are, please do not serve trash food. It must be submitted via email. Before I was a lawyer, I had an internship and was supervised under a man named Bob, who resented my continued existence in his department and saw me as dead weight. This is largely true of legal interns, who tend to create work rather than solve problems. However, Bob would give me half of an assignment, refuse to clarify his instructions, and then sigh in exasperation when it wasn't able to literally read his mind or solve the issue. If I suggested another or different way to do something, he would dig his heels in just for the sake of doing so, even on things where taking a hard stance made no sense. One day, I was assigned to send a large volume of files to the company's outside lawyers. After gathering documents from various companies' representatives, I realized that they were too voluminous to email. When I told Bob that I needed to put them on a flash drive, he snapped, and they must be submitted via email today. I knew that our company would accept emails up to 30 megabytes for internal sources, but the server would reject anything external over 15 megabytes, and I suspected the law firm's servers were set up the same way. Bob wouldn't hear it. "What are you talking about? I send huge files all the time. Just do it." "Sure thing, Bob." I confirmed the email size limit with the law firm, then lovingly, painstakingly, parsed out the files for individual emails. I waited until Bob was in a meeting and started shotgunning privileged confidential email, one of 47 messages to the firm and copying Bob. They emailed me in a panic, begging me to stop and tell me that the flash drive would be great. I told them that, per Bob, the message must be emailed. Bob eventually sent a very terse reply, instructing the firm to send a courier over so that the flash drive could be picked up. Everyone has this sort of boss. It's unfortunate that this company treats their interns like crap. I mean, a lot of places actually do, and that's not how you teach people. They're there to learn. Naturally, they're going to cause more problems than solve, but they're there to learn, and you kind of have to just grin and bear it and understand that they eventually will be in the field that you're currently in. I've worked with a couple interns. So I end up connecting with this one a bit because I've had a situation very similar where your manager won't listen to you, and that's fine. And you have to do everything they tell you to do, and that's fine. But you have to do everything they tell you to do, so it's not your fault when you do exactly what they tell you to do. And I loved how this was handled, very professionally. So I really appreciate the lawyer had a very humbling experience in learning to listen to the people around him. Those are all the stories for today. I believe my favorite one's going to be the last one with the lawyer because it was so eloquently handled. That was probably the most delicious of malicious compliance in this whole set today. But please tell me what your personal favorite was in the comment section below. Tell me what your opinions are. I always love reading them. You guys have been great. You guys have been awesome. Remember, if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to click that like button and ring that little bell icon because it does things for everybody. It really does. Thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you very much for following along. And as usual, as always, my friends, stay frosty and keep moving forward.